You're listening to Seattle Real Estate Podcast.
Welcome back, my friends. What are we talking about today? Parler drops their Amazon lawsuit, then files a new one right here in King County Court. What are they doing? They're kind of reworking their lawsuit. They're saying, hey, we don't need your services back on Amazon Web Services. We got that squared away. We are suing you for some cold hard cash because you did us dirty. Before we jump on into this story, if you're new here, thanks for being here. My name is Sean Reynolds. I own a couple of real estate companies, and I talk about the news that you want to hear. All right, let's get into it. This is from My Northwest. And you guys, if you're new to this topic, Parler basically got dropped by Amazon Web Services because Amazon claimed that there was a lot of people doing the whole planning on the January 6th Capitol Hill deal during the election thing, right? They said, you've got so much violence going on. We're going to deplatform you. We're going to take away your website, your services from our website. You guys have been bad. And yet the far left seems to, they seem to just kind of do everything on Twitter and Facebook, and nobody really says anything. They've been planning out activist activities that routinely end in violence. You know, that's consistent. Last weekend they did down in Portland, and yep, there was stuff on Twitter. There's stuff on Facebook. All right, come join the revolution. All that good stuff. And yet nothing happens there. So this, to me, this is just cancel culture and big media not wanting to hear anything but what they want to hear. On Tuesday, Parler dropped a lawsuit it had filed against Amazon in a U.S. District Court. Hours later, it filed a new lawsuit against the company, this time in King County Superior Court. The lawsuit Parler dropped was largely rooted in antitrust claims, asserting three claims. Amazon illegally sought to reduce competition in the social media sphere on behalf of Twitter. Amazon Web Services breached its contract in terminating its agreement with Parler. And Amazon intentionally interfered with Parler's business relationships. U.S. District Court Judge Barbara Rothstein initially ruled against all three of those claims in denying Parler a preliminary injunction while the lawsuit played out. They lost their platform. They lost their ability to host their website and everything else. They were scrambling around. At one point in time, I think they were going to go with a media company here in Sammamish, Washington, but that didn't pan out. And I think they're now they're with an LA company. So they got back up and running. But man, what a mess to have to go through when you're a digital online company, right? Parler, billed as a refuge for conservatives looking for a refuge from Twitter, came under fire in the wake of the January 6th siege on the U.S. Capitol, with many of its users advocating for violence against opponents of President Donald Trump. In terminating its account with Parler in early January, Amazon cited a steady increase in that sort of troubling and potentially inciting content in the weeks leading up to the Capitol riot. Both Apple and Google removed Parler from their respective app stores for similar reasons. And yet the exact same stuff goes on the daily for the other side. Nobody says anything. What's up with that? How does that work? That's kind of how I see this whole thing. It's like, really? You're going to throw Parler off? Okay. Not playing. You're just not playing fair. That's bottom line, right? Parler's website and app came back online in mid-February after moving its hosting to Los Angeles-based cloud computing company SkySilk. The company's new lawsuit filed in King County Superior Court focuses less on antitrust violations and more on breaches of contract, unfair trade practices, and allegations of defamation. It's now seeking monetary damages from Amazon rather than the resumption of hosting services it asked for in its first lawsuit. Because they got the hosting squared away and they're no longer scrambling. They've worked that out. Now they're going after them for that other stuff, right? In this latest lawsuit, Parler alleges that Amazon violated a provision in its contract that allows for 30 days either to cure or find another host. That's been one of the big things in this lawsuit is that Amazon cut them off so hard and so fast. Just basically no warning. Just done. You're out of here. And if there's, Parler alleges Amazon violated a provision in its contract that allows for 30 days either to cure, fix the thing, or find another host. And if there's problematic content, and that's if there's problematic content from users. From the beginning of their contractual relationship, Amazon Web Services had known that Parler used a reactive system to deal with problematic content. And not once had Amazon Web Services said that such a system was insufficient or in violation of the party's contract. The company said in its court filing, what is more, Amazon Web Services knew that Parler was testing out a new proactive system that would catch problematic content before it was even posted. This is just cancel culture. It's as simple as that. This is cancel culture at the corporate level. Got to be careful. Amazon countered the claim in a statement to The Verge, saying that Parler was unable or unwilling to promptly identify and remove this content. And yet there's other content identical. It just comes from a different side of the political spectrum, and that's allowed to go on the daily. That's just what we're doing, apparently. So, which coupled with an increase in this type of dangerous content led to our suspension of their services. That is nonsense. Seriously. I mean, you look at this story and you go, that is so transparent what they're doing. I mean, and the whole thing about the rushing Capitol Hill, all right, but we've had the peaceful protesters doing that exact same thing, hammering on federal buildings in Portland for how many days straight? Over 100, 120, 150, somewhere around that. And you know what people said? Not much. Didn't really say anything. It was mostly peaceful. I mean, they're mostly peaceful protesters trying to destroy the federal buildings in downtown Portland. That's an ongoing narrative. It's still going on. Not as much anymore, obviously, but winter in the Pacific Northwest, it deters a little bit of the peaceful protesting. Bet you that stuff cranks back up in summer. Bet you it does. People are like, oh, it's sunny outside. What can we do? Let's go do some peaceful protesting. Grab your hammer. Let's go. So that to me on this one. It's just in the end, you've got this craziness going on. One side totally gets whacked. Other side, business as usual. And nobody seems to even want to take a look at it. Hey, is this fair? No, it's not. But this is what we're doing anyway. And that's kind of big. That's kind of big media, right? What's going on right now. A lot of the guys that I follow, they are all taking their systems, creating their own. They're going to other private systems that, so if you get deplatformed by YouTube, if you get your Facebook page taken away, if you get Instagram taken away, they're looking for alternative solutions, and Parler was one of them. And I think people have kind of taken a step back from Parler, but there aren't too many big companies like this that can provide an online platform that makes sense. So when you have one like this that gets taken out, it's kind of like, ooh, that is not a good sign of things to come. And even though I'm not overtly political, I'm definitely on the conservative side of things because I'm pro-business. And guess what? Businesses, for the most part, they're a little bit more conservative because we've got stuff that actually, we can't let our feelings get in the way of things, right? Facts don't care about your feelings. Where have I heard that before? That's an interesting one, right? I think that's so funny for a title of a book. Facts don't care about your feelings. Hey, we got to make some money here. Don't really care what your feelings are on the issue. How do we make this business model go? How do we make it better? What do we do? And you try and take into consideration, people's feelings as best you can, but sometimes that doesn't matter. Here in this Parler dropping the Amazon lawsuit, and they're going again in King County Court. Man, I wouldn't want to throw a lawsuit out against Amazon. Good luck with that. But if they can win, whew. So we'll keep following the whole Parler thing, see how that lawsuit goes. I thought it was an interesting strategy. Obviously, the Parler's attorneys looked at the results and they got basically shut down in their initial court dates. And now they're looking at, hey, you guys, here's a violation of contract terms. So they're going to go down that road. I'll keep following up with you on that. But man, I don't see a lot of hope for a lot of these companies that, allow basically freedom of speech by people who are more on the conservative side. You might say, yeah, but the people who rushed the Capitol Hill thing, they were all from the far, far right. Yeah, some of them, but then there was a bunch of other people that weren't. They're just making an example out of this, and they're basically saying, hey, we're putting you on blast. We're not going to allow for this kind of stuff. We want our content out there. We don't really want your content out there. Therefore, we're going to deplatform you. That's what happened. And Parler's trying to fight back, but I don't see that as being I don't see a lot of hope in that lawsuit, but give them kudos for trying. All right. On another social media kind of notion here, Facebook. I hammer on Facebook a lot because Facebook, they just do their own thing and basically tell everybody, if you don't like what we're doing, you can stick it. Facebook is the first major tech company to bring back Seattle workers to offices. I've been talking at length about end of quarter number 2. You're going to see big tech companies and the big companies in Seattle starting to bring their workers back. At one time, it was, we're going to work from home forever. Remote work is here to stay until it's not. So Facebook, they're going to go back 10% occupancy. So 1 out of 10 people that can be there will be there. All right. So, I mean, businesses in Seattle right now, the professional businesses, they're at, I think, 25% capacity. That's what you can fill up your offices with. So Facebook is going to go, they're going to be even more cautious and go 10%. So basically, hardly anybody back at the office. But this is that start. This is that trickle that we're talking about. You're going to start to see the trickle turn into a flow pretty soon, have everybody back at their offices. And I don't think it'll be a 5-day-a-week thing like it ever was before. But you're going to see more people back in the offices. So businesses in downtown corridors, yep, your time. That's if we can get some of the crime squared away, because no matter what, if this stuff, can you imagine if an Amazon employee got beat up or mugged or assaulted, whatever it is you want to call it? That's going to be some major story. And political leadership, they're going to have a little bit more of a spotlight on them. Yeah, I didn't really want to go working back in downtown, and I told my employer Facebook that, but they made me go anyway, and then I got beat up. Oof, not good. I think you will see that storyline, though, and it's just kind of inevitable. You send a bunch of workers back to an area that has been basically empty for the last year. There's going to be a little bit of conflict between those who have kind of taken the area over and those trying to go back and just do their job. Facebook announced Tuesday that it plans to bring its Seattle employees back to its offices at 10% capacity. Just a smidge. Bringing it back just a smidge. This makes the social media giant the first large tech company in the Puget Sound region to begin bringing its workers back in person. Who was it? Goldman Sachs, their CEO basically said, yeah, we're going back. I'm not having another, another class of the entry-level guys. I'm not having our new guys, our newbies. They're not doing another Zoom. We're not doing another Zoom session. That's not working for them. So Goldman Sachs bringing their employees back to the office. In total, Facebook employs over 5,400 people in the region, Pacific Northwest, the 5th most among major tech companies behind Amazon, Microsoft, T-Mobile, and Google, respectively. So if you start talking about FANG, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, and Google, you got a pretty heavy presence of that right here in the Pacific Northwest. And people say, well, Sean, you hammer on Seattle, but then you say the suburbs are fine, which they are. Total dichotomy, right? Dichotomy. It's very true. The downtown area, crappy. Suburban areas, they're fine. You don't have any of this stuff going on. We didn't defund our police. We're not going down those roads. We're pro-business. We're not taxing the heck out of them. So, yeah, there's some impact here from state stuff. But as far as local government, the suburbs of Seattle, that's where everybody's going. So that's because you've basically got FANG hiring a bunch of employees in the area. At some point, you're going to have a slowdown. You just have to. This can't go on forever. But for now, even with the stock market gyrations, we're still seeing people come in. In a statement to the Puget Sound Business Journal, Facebook spokesman Tracy Clayton indicated that offices in Seattle, Bellevue, and Redmond, they're on the verge of opening again at a scale not seen since the COVID pandemic began more than a year ago, but did not offer a timeline for when exactly that might occur. So we had a building just up the street from where I'm recording here, REI. It was REI's new flagship headquarters. Was it the headquarters for the whole thing? I can't remember, but it's a brand new campus. It's an office campus. Pretty cool. It's literally, it's at 124th and I'm at 134th here. So it's 10 blocks up the road, just a little over a half mile. And they ended up selling that after a very brief listing period REI did last summer. They sold it to Facebook. So Facebook is they're gonna start bringing their folks back. It's okay. Hey, the election is over. You can go back to work. The 10% of workers Facebook plans to bring back will be prioritized based on those who have been struggling most to be productive with the work from home model. It's the company told the Journal. Facebook told the Journal, okay, we're going to give our employees the option of going back to the office if they're having a tough time. How about anybody with kids at home that their spouse can still watch? I would like to go to the office. Can I go to the office? I need some damn peace and quiet. Or maybe people who do a lot of Zoom calls that don't have, they're just not set up. Most people aren't set up at home to do business. Some people are. A lot of people aren't. I don't like doing business at home because it makes me feel like I can't ever get a break. I want to come into the office. I want to do my podcast. And when I leave, I don't really want to think about it. I'm going to think about it. But if I'm actually doing more work at home, it feels like my workday just kind of goes forever. And I know there's a lot of people out there who are in the same thing that don't have the option to go into an office. I kind of sit in my office here, which is, I don't know, is it 10 by 12, something like that? It's got all kinds of I got a big TV right over here that I never really watch. I got a bunch of sound paneling around me. I got a Dave Matthews Band poster up right over there. It's pretty cool. But yeah, it's the office with, 4 walls and a ceiling, and I got a bunch of bright lights that shine on me. So you guys have a better picture. But I'm going to an environment not at my house. And that's really important for me. Then I think a lot of other employees, they've probably gone past that. Hey, I don't have to get all dressed up to go to the office. Not that anybody gets dressed up to go to Facebook anyway, but you can't really go to work with sweats. But yeah, Microsoft people, they certainly do that at some levels. Those genius programmers, I can wear whatever I want because I'm important and they're not going to tell me to put big boy pants on. So I think there's a lot of folks that are tired of working from home that, maybe their kids are home and they're like, get me out of here. I want to go back to work. I want to go back and have live conversations with people. They want to have that interaction. Then there's other people who are like, man, I have really enjoyed the time at home with my loved ones. I would probably not be in that group because I like to focus on work and then I focus on family. And it's hard to do both in the same environment because I feel like you don't do as good a job. It's hard. I did work at home for quite a few years after we went completely virtual in 2011. But also my kids are older. They were kind of doing their own thing. They were with their mother half the time, maybe more than that. I can't remember that whole divorce decree and child custody and all that ridiculousness. That's way behind me. And so I don't have those considerations. So when I'm working at home, a lot of times it's just me. And that's easy to do. But for a lot of folks, man, this has been a trying year. And then these schools, why aren't we sending the kids back to school? What is up with that? I don't really get that. Hey, it's probably go time. And I know the teachers that are scared out of their minds. But you know what? At some point in time, you got to pull off that Band-Aid, go back to school, have the parents be able to send their kids back to school. But again, I'm a parent of older kids that aren't in school, so my opinion probably doesn't mean a lot. But I think a lot of people are like, geez, when are we going back to school? Because you're looking at like almost, if kids aren't going back to school now, and if they're not going back to school this coming fall, In a lot of states, I think, that's kind of the consideration. That's what we're talking about. You're looking at like a year and a half of these kids doing the Zoom thing. And man, if I was a Zoom student, I would not do well. Just no go for me. Be like, yep, doing my homework. Oh, no, not really. I'm over here playing Doom because that's really the only game, first-person shooter game that I can play that I was good at. And what is that? Is that 20 years old now? I don't know. It's really old. It's not as old as Asteroids or Galaga or Galaxian or anything like that. They're really good games. But that's what I would have been doing if I was in high school right now. Oh, yeah, I'm getting her all done. You betcha. And I would just skate by with whatever. Because the Zoom thing, I have a difficult time getting through one Zoom call. I just lose interest. I'm like, yeah, I know you're there and I know I'm here, but this just doesn't feel as good as if I'm in a meeting, if I've got something really productive to do. I watch a lot of YouTube. And so I am able to, like you guys might, I am able to kind of get through that. And I like to consume my content one directional, but to have endless meetings where we go back and forth on Zoom and I got to pretend that I'm really paying attention to what you're saying because what I'm saying half the time is nonsense anyway. And vice versa, especially if we're talking about something in business. I think most business meetings can be done via email. They can be done via text. You can get them done quickly. Then you don't have to have all this big, since we're not meeting in person, let's do the Zoom call. Well, now Facebook is saying, all right, let's go back. Let's dip our toes in the water just a little bit, 10%, because we love our people. We care about our people. That's what we're doing, 10%. That doesn't mean we're going to kill our people by sending them back to the office, but 10%. I mean, whoever came up with that, that's pretty smart. Oh, we love our employees, only 10%. So that 1 out of 10 guys that's going to be there, I mean, he might get the Rona, but no. No. We have so many precautions in place now. It's crazy. In the meantime, Facebook says it will continue monitoring local COVID-19 trends, as well as testing and vaccine access to access its plans for the future. What was I watching yesterday? I was watching Ben Shapiro on a video he had with Governor Ron DeSantis from Florida. And that guy he kind of just cuts through all the nonsense. I haven't listened to him a lot, but it makes me want to move to Florida even more. Florida used to have just these crazy news stories coming out of it. And you know what? If I could have a governor like that, I'd probably live with all those crazy news stories, right? I mean, just right? I don't know. Plus, this time of year in Seattle, we're getting days every now and then that have some sunshine. But man, our cloudy days and cold, it's a long grind here in Seattle. So why wouldn't I move to Florida? I don't know. But that's just something, we all have these dreams of the grass is greener on the other side. Maybe I'll move there. Maybe let's go there. Other tech companies in the Puget Sound region have continued to maintain their own remote work policies, including Amazon, where the option to work full-time from home remains in place at least through June 2021. There we go. There's my prediction. End of quarter 2. Microsoft took that a step further last October, indicating that it plans to enact flexible work schedules that would incorporate remote work options permanently. And I think most big companies will, but they're also going to say, get your ass back into the office at least 2 days a week. Meanwhile, state leaders continue to encourage schools to begin phasing out their own remote models, pushing for students to at least begin returning to classrooms in a hybrid model. That's based on emergent data indicating that students are less likely to significantly contribute to the spread of COVID-19 in school settings and continued increases in vaccine distribution statewide. Get those kids back in school. That's where they need to be. That's where their parents want them to be. This whole, I don't have the vaccine. Maybe if I was a teacher, it'd be different. But, in real estate, you just kind of go and do it. Because you have to. You don't have these options of, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's reimagine. Let's rethink this, 100 different ways. I think it's time to go back to school. I think it's time for companies to be bringing their employees back. I think that's what will happen. Whether or not they should, kind of depends on their business model. But I think a lot gets lost in the whole, Zoom conference. So, all right, that's it for me on this one. We talked about Parler. talked about their lawsuit, talked about Facebook. And that Facebook story, these workers are coming back, and when they go back to downtown Seattle, things are going to be a little different. They're going to be a little tricky. They're going to be a little icy. We'll just have to see how that goes. And as those stories emerge, I will report them right here on the Seattle Real Estate Podcast. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of the podcast. I'll catch up with you guys soon. Until then, au revoir. Bye. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you'll know when our next video is out.